I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. We want to welcome those of you in the audience tonight to tonight's meeting, as well as those that might be watching on cable, Channel 7. The next item is the consent. I am going to pull item E. Any other items to be pulled? If not, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Lauer?
Aye.
Councilman Reed?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
No.
Councilman Shaver?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Solon?
No.
Carried.
Item E. I pull item E because it reflects the purchase of 7 new police vehicles. And that bid went to a local company, Blue Springs Ford. So we're happy to be able to do that. They will be Crown Vics with the police interceptors in them. They're 2010 models. And when do we expect to have those arrive? Chief McCoy?
Usually takes quite a bit of time for those. We'll place the order, and then it depends on when Ford is making that. I believe you have someone in the audience that might give you a quicker.
Okay, well, gentlemen from Ford, do you have any idea? How long?
Typically 6 to 8 weeks,
Okay,
but they'll be put on expedite because of the nature of what they are. So,
Okay.
And once we get them submitted, we'll be able to give you pretty accurate ETAs as they progress through.
okay, that'll
Can
be
I
It
great.
would be a very prompt response for a purchase of that nature.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Councilman Reed?
I know last time we talked about this, there was some discussion about the explosive quality of the rear, the way the gas tank was. Has that all been solved? And
Mr. Johnson can answer that, I believe.
I can do that, or I'll defer to Chris Sandy. I know it's been carefully evaluated by our central garage staff, and I don't believe we have any concerns or issues, and these vehicles are recommended with the full support of staff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Let me-
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, I have a motion for the approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? Motion carries. Next, we have a public hearing on the setting of the 2009 property tax levy. Mr. Johnson.
Your Honor, for this particular public hearing, I'd like to introduce one exhibit, which includes City Council information form from Christine Cates, the Finance Director, proposing the tax levy for 2009 as 0.7259 per 100 assessed valuation with attachments, notice of 2009 aggregate assessed valuation from Jackson County, affidavit of publication is advertised in Examiner, August 8, 2008, and bill number 4073, establishing tax levy for 2009. These are all the exhibits I have to offer on behalf of this hearing, and I believe our Finance Director, Christine Cates, would like to make a brief presentation.
Okay, Mrs. Kate?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Even though we talked about this in detail Thursday night at the budget work session, I thought we'd go over the information again for the public hearing and for the public to understand what we're proposing with this ordinance. This ordinance proposes to roll up the city's property tax levy, specifically the operating levy in the general fund, to 0.5759 cents per $100 of assessed valuation, which is a roll-up of 2.7 cents. The reason that we are proposing to do that is the state of Missouri, state law allows the city to remain revenue neutral. So in a time when property values or assessments change, we can roll up that levy so that the city generates the same amount of revenue that we did in previous years. The overall assessment for 2009 went down from $756,158,001 in 2008 to $725,277,386. That's overall a decrease of 4.08% or $30 million as compared to 2008. When you take out new construction of $14,934,695, the overall assessed valuations decreased by an average of 6%. There was a new law that went into place this year, Senate Bill 711, that required the city to project the property tax rate in April to the county so that when the assessments were done, the property tax owners could not only see their reassessment of their property value, but what their projected tax bill would be. In the past, when they would get a reassessment notice, they could see what their values were, but it didn't really make sense to them and how that would translate into a tax bill. So this year, we had to submit our projected levy early in April. And then when your assessment notice came out, on the back of that, you got an assessment or a projection of what your taxes would be. And that is the number that we sent in April. And you can see here, by looking at this, that is the city's projected operating level of 5,759. And then above that is a projected debt service levy of 15 cents. So you can see what we projected back in April is still what we're proposing to have approved this evening, and is also included in the 2009-10 proposed budget. And that was also included in your packet. I didn't have that as a handout at the meeting on Thursday night. Let's see. This is the sample that we put together to show different scenarios of how this tax roll-up could affect a property owner. In this first column, you can see if someone had a home valued at $150,000 last year, the total tax rate at that time was $6,989. That was the operating levy plus the debt service levy. So the property taxes paid to the city last year would have been $119.19. If the average decline of 6% was applied to that $150,000, you can see in the second column, the new value would have been $140,910. If we left the tax rate the same as it is, or as it was last year, that would represent a savings of $12.07 to the property tax owner, or about $1 a month. Scenario 3 is what we're proposing this evening, is if someone had a property value of their home decreased to $140,910, and we rolled the levy up by 2.7 cents, the property tax bill would be $194.34, which is still a savings of $4.84. And the reason that represents a savings still, even though we're rolling the levy up, is that when the county sent us the final certification in July, they had increased our new construction amount, so that impacted our overall assessed valuation. So we could roll up the property tax levy under state statutes by 3.3 cents. But since we had notified the property tax owners back in April that it would be 2.7, and we built our proposed budget based on 2.7 cents, we are not recommending that we roll the levy up to the legal limit of adding 3.3 cents to that. And then the last column was a sample of what would happen if someone was fortunate enough not to see a decrease in their property tax values, and we rolled the levy up. So if their taxes actually did increase in 2009, it would be by $7.69.
Okay, any questions on Mrs. Cates? Any questions? Councilman Fowler?
That 3.86%, that's the difference between the 69 cents and the 72 cents, I guess. It's at 69 cents today and going to go to 72.
That's the difference.
Which column, I'm sorry?
The far right on the bottom, the 3.86%.
Is what the increase would be. That represents the increase over
Right.
2008 if the value did not change, if they didn't see a decrease in value.
Right.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mrs. Cates, for that. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll go to the public. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in support of? In support of? In opposition to? In opposition to? We'll close this public hearing. Now we would accept introduction.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay?
First reading of Bill Number 4073, an ordinance establishing the tax levy for 2009.
I move we approve on the first reading, proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. This is one that, this happens every year, and sometimes the levy goes up and sometimes it goes down. I normally try and introduce them when they go down, and I vote against them when they go up. To me, it's fundamentally, if we're going from a tax levy of 69 cents to 72 cents, taxes are going up. I've been out on the campaign trail many times and said I'm not going to raise your taxes. This is government 101 tonight. It doesn't get any simpler than this. If you vote yes on this, it goes from 69 cents to 72 cents. And the property tax rate for the citizens of Blue Springs goes up. It's not required. This is discretionary, and you don't have to vote yes on it. So I'm going to be voting against it.
Any other discussion?
Your Honor, I guess I would just kind of echo some of Councilman Fowler's sentiments. I can't support a 3.8% increase in taxes for our citizens when, it's hard economic times. People right now are having a hard time making ends meet. People are out of work. This is not a time for us to be raising property taxes, and I really can't support this.
Councilman Lowry, did you have something to say?
Yes, a couple of things. One is, as I understand it, this translating, Christine, you can help with that number. This translates to approximately $160,000 to $190,000 revenue for the city, is that correct?
$164,000.
$164,000.
The
okay.
difference is, that's what the difference represents.
Okay, and this represents, based on your handout, this increase represents how many dollars to the property owner?
If the value of a property owner's home did not change, it would represent an increase in property taxes. Overall, our property values decreased by 6%, so I think for the most part, that's across the board. We haven't been able to look at every property tax value to see. I know that several people have looked at their values and have seen those gone down, so I think that's been pretty universal across the city. So I think there would be very few properties that would actually pay more taxes based on this levy change.
Okay, and then one other thing would be, this is a balanced dilemma here as far as revenue for the city and taxes for the taxpayer. I think the question would be then, if this were not to be approved, how would that impact the city and what sacrifices might there be? Because on the same part of this, we don't want to sacrifice services to the taxpayers across the community as well. So to what degree, or how would you anticipate that to be impacting the city then, Councilman Fowler,
Well,
not having that revenue?
To me, it's fundamental. If the rate goes from 69 to 72, it's obviously a tax increase. I fully believe that there's $160,000 that we can cut out of the budget. I mean, I think we can tighten our belt. There's a lot of line items out there. Would you like to see them?
No, I don't
thank
think
you.
we do.
I
I don't think we
provide
want
a
to see
list.
those tonight.
No.
We're going to, anybody else have any other comments to make before we vote on this? Again, I'm going to reiterate. It's a very modest, just keep revenue neutral so we can provide the services that we presently provide to our citizens. If we don't, we will have to cut something. And it might be something that you want individually to stay in the budget. Certainly it'll be the consensus and of the majority of this council that will make that decision. So,
Your Honor?
yes.
I don't know if the council, I went over the budget today because I figured this would come up, the $164,000, and I came up with $163,820. I don't know if anyone cares to see.
Well, that certainly would be what you would be interested in, but it might not interest the rest of the council members.
So I guess nobody'd like to see, but I could actually find $163,000.
Well, I bet you could, because you don't have to operate that. Staff does. Let's have a vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no?
No.
Did you need a second introduction on
No, no.
First reading.
No, that was the first reading. Okay.
4-2.
4-2.
Your Honor, I don't believe it was 4-2. I think
Okay,
it was
let's roll
3-3.
call it then.
Thank you. Councilman Reed?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
No.
Councilman Shaver?
No.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Solon?
No.
Councilman Lauer?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Second reading.
Second reading of Bill Number 4073, an ordinance establishing the tax levy for 2009.
Move the bill be approved on second and final reading and sign the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion before we second read it? Roll call, please.
Councilman Reed?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
No.
Councilman Shaver?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Solon?
No.
Councilman Lauer?
No.
Carried with 4-2 vote, given ordinance number 4256.
No.
3-3.
3-3.
The mayor votes
I thought
aye.
Councilman Shaver said aye.
You did.
He did.
Councilman Lauer said no that time.
Councilman Lauer said no.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you.
The mayor votes aye. Okay, next is introduction and reading of Bill 4075.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
All right.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, it's Bill 4074. First reading of Bill Number 4074, an ordinance amending Sections 245290, 245300, 245310, 245320, and 515 450 of the Code of Ordinances and adding Section 245330, 245340, and 245350 to the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, to regulate the height of weeds and the abatement thereof.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Your Honor, there
Councilman
was a few concerns about this, that we may be getting too aggressive with this, and I just wondered if anybody else had concerned folks saying, hey, this is, maybe they couldn't maintain or be as responsive as we are asking for. No doubt the reason we talked about this is we wanted to have weeds controlled, and we wanted people to mow their property when they're required to. And we got into follow-up cycles, et cetera. Has anybody else heard?
Your Honor, since you brought it up, and I was thinking about bringing that up also, through my business, I deal with a number of other businesses that deal in lawn care, lawn maintenance, irrigation, and in discussing with them, they all work off of cycles, and they really stress that the 7-day cycle is probably a better cycle than what we're proposing due to, and theirs wasn't necessarily from the point of view of an expertise, I mean, as far as an expertise, but not as from a business standpoint, but they said that a lot of times a day of rain will interrupt because that takes 2 days out of the cycle. It could be a holiday, it could be a weekend. There's a lot of things that go in there, and they felt that the timeline that we had there was really probably pressing it too much. I know our goal, I think, in this whole thing was to try to improve the looks of our city, but most of these abatements are probably going to be directed at our citizens, and some of them may not be able to. For example, an elderly citizen, by the time they could contact a company that maybe could come in and cut the weeds or take care of their lawn, they couldn't get it scheduled in time to meet the term limits. So I'm wondering if we are being too aggressive, and I tend to agree with Councilman Fowler on this, that maybe we should relook at this or rechange this, that we're probably being a little bit more aggressive than we need to be with this.
Certainly, I received the emails from people complaining about it, as well as I've heard some people that express, well, it might be too aggressive, but probably the best thing to do, we don't know until we have had an opportunity to see if it's going to work. So it's my recommendation that we give it a chance to work, have staff use some discretion, and this time next year come back with a report and see if it's working or not working, and see if we need to tweak it. But we'll never know until we give it an opportunity to see if it's going to work. Because I'm certain that all of you also get those calls when people are not taken care of
That's right.
as well.
I'm just wondering if
Councilman
we just add, it says after 4 days of notice, and somehow exempt weekends, holidays or weekends in there, if that wouldn't really cover it.
Mr. McDonald would have to answer that question.
Well, the way we were going to operate it was to give 4 business days. It doesn't actually say that, but that's what we generally do.
Could we just say?
If you
after
want us
4
to say
business
that, we
days?
can.
I'm just thinking, that might
Yes.
alleviate some of the.
Clarify.
We
Okay.
can change it to that, if that's the will of the council.
I would suggest we amend it to 4 business days.
I agree.
Okay. Mr. McDonald, can you whip that up real quickly? Then someone can offer that as an amendment.
It's amended. It's in section 245320, and we're just changing it. It'll say, the codes administrator or his designee shall hold a hearing on a business day after 4 business days notice thereof.
Okay, does that satisfy everyone? So
Is that
I
a
need a
proposed,
motion.
is that a proposed amendment?
Yes.
Yeah, we need someone to
Okay.
offer it.
Yeah, somebody will have to offer it.
I so move, Your Honor.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion on the proposed amendment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is amended.
Your Honor, I have another question.
Okay.
Ask, Mr. Allen.
Go ahead.
In light, the question that came up, I would assume, and let me ask that a question, if I called in and said, okay, I got an abatement, I've got somebody lined up to mow it, but he can't do it until the 5th day, I assume we will accept that. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. In terms of the code, as it stated, the administrative hearing is what's held 4 business days following the notice. And then after that point, then they have an additional 5 days. So, to abate that. So you're really looking at 9 business days.
You're really looking at 9 business days?
Right, in terms of from the time that they're first notified of.
Okay,
of
that
the
seems
nuisance.
more than ample to me.
Your Honor, as a follow-up question to Mr. Allen, and this only comes from hearing the complaints sometimes, some of these homeowners that get the abatement letter and a hearing panic because maybe they were gone on vacation, come home, and they find this letter, and especially an elderly citizen that, say, is not familiar with the city, and they see this and they panic. And if they make a phone call to you, I mean, do they have to attend that, or can a phone call eliminate that hearing? Because a lot of them figure like, oh, I got to hire a lawyer. I mean, I've had these phone calls, so.
Right. Your Honor, Councilman Edmondson, we've conducted administrative hearings not necessarily in person. We've done that through the phone or some other method, and that's usually satisfies that requirement as well. And again, the 5 days is when our staff then goes back out after the administrative hearing, 5 days following that, investigates that to see if it has been abated. If it has not, then we further schedule the abatement contractor. And again, they may be 5, 6, 7 days out. So there's still some flexibility in terms of when they could actually do some abatement. And we encourage folks, if they do receive one of these notices or they end up having to be forced to abate, to contact us if they have abated it, so that we can avoid, overscheduling our abatement contractor and going out there and finding out they've already done it, or they're about to do it perhaps the next day.
Okay.
And there's some flexibility in there because there's still the scheduling of our abatement contractor following those 5 days.
Okay.
That answer your question? Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Mr.
Your Honor. I guess clearly I want people to follow our ordinances, and I guess that's why we're revising this, because we're having difficulty getting that compliance right now, and we're getting a little more aggressive with it. If I do go ahead and support this tonight, I definitely want to instill that that I'm going to be open-minded to the people that are kind of concerned about this, that maybe we are making it too challenging just on the follow-up cycle. I mean, I get just as many emails about properties that are not being maintained, and I truly want those to be maintained. That's why we had this discussion in a work session a while back. But at the same time, it'll come down to implementation and how it works out. So I'll follow your recommendation on approving it, but definitely want to be open to those people that are sharing concerns with us right now.
Yeah, thank you. And staff will come back with a report once they had an opportunity to monitor it and let us know the success of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Some further discussion? All in favor as amended?
Aye.
Did we do the first reading already? We just got into it. Yeah, we voted on the amendment. Voted on the first reading as amended. Okay.
I move that we vote on the amendment,
First reading as
first
amended.
reading
As amended.
As amended, there you go.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
Second reading of Bill Number 4074, as amended, an ordinance amending Section 245-290, 245-300, 245-310, 245-320, and 515-450 of the Code of Ordinances and adding Section 245-330, 245-340, and 245-350 to the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, to regulate the height of weeds and the abatement thereof.
Your Honor, I move the bill be approved on its second and final reading and be assigned the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Shaver?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Solon?
Aye.
Councilman Lauer?
Aye.
Councilman Reed?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, given ordinance number 4257.
Okay, next is introduction and reading of Bill 4075.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay,
First reading of Bill Number 4075, an ordinance amending the 2008-09 annual budget of the City of Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
Second reading of Bill Number 4075, an ordinance amending the 2008-09 annual budget of the City of Blue Springs, Missouri.
Your Honor, I move the bill be approved on its second and final reading and be assigned the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Shaver?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Solon?
Aye.
Councilman Lauer?
Aye.
Councilman Reed?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, given ordinance number 4258.
Okay, mayoral announcements. City Hall will be closed on Labor Day, which would be our next scheduled city council meeting. So it will be moved to Tuesday, September 8th, 8:30 here in the multipurpose room, Public Safety Building. One other thing I might mention as a proud grandpa is my grandson in Atlanta was recognized as a offense, defense, youth All-American in football.
Wow.
So that's quite an honor.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
And-
channel will that be on?
Yeah.
You can see it online. I'll give you the website. Okay, those are the only mayoral announcements I have. We have any visitors? I don't have any visitors' cards. Any visitors? Seeing none, we'll accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? Meeting's adjourned.